Hi y'all, and welcome back to my channel. I am Ash, and today we are going to do a monthly wrap-up. I read a total of 11 books. 3 of them were dark romance. I read 2 horror, 3 romance, 1 thriller, and 1 post-apocalyptic. I did DNF 1 book, so I read a total of 10 books, but I had 11 books that I attempted to read. If you guys don't recall, I'll have linked down in the description my TBR of the month, but I read a total of 4,141 pages, and that does not include the book I DNF'd. I'm gonna start out this with my standout book, which is The Ritual by Adam Nevill. I did not realize how much I was going to love this book. It was so amazing. It was so wonderful. I rated this one a 5-star, and I do the CawPile rating, and I absolutely loved this one. So much so that I actually did attempt to watch the movie on Netflix. I still haven't finished it. I keep falling asleep. Every time I try to watch it, I end up still falling asleep to it. But the book was utterly fantastic. It's about 4 friends who go out to the forest, and they end up trying to take what they think is a shortcut. It's not a shortcut, and it leads them to a disturbing old magic kind of world where it is just darkness and scary and frightening vibes. And this was my first attempt at reading an Adam Nevill book, and I have another one of his that, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it's on my TBR for August, but I look forward to reading more of his books. The next book I read was A Boy and His Dog at the End of the World. This book surprised me. There is a massive plot twist. Basically, the plot of this book is that there is a family who lives on an island. A wanderer or a traveler comes through promising a part they need, and turns out that they were a liar and a thief, and it gets so dark and so good. My only complaint about this book, I did rate it 4 stars. My only complaint is I wish there was more dog, but that's a personal preference. I really enjoyed this book. I had an absolute blast reading this. I could not put it down. There were parts that made me cry, and I did not see the plot twists that were coming from this book. I'm gonna try and get through these as quickly as possible, so that way I'm not wasting anybody's time. Next up is Never Lie by Freida McFadden. I really enjoyed this book. This was, I'm beginning to realize that a lot of Freida's books are very similar, and Never Lie was no exception, which means I also similarly love them all. I am excited. I do want to read The Housemaiden because everyone keeps telling me I need to read that one, but this one I gave a 4-star. It was a little more on the predictable side for me. I am not big on, I'm not overly opinionated when it comes to books. I like what I like. If I don't like it, I'll just get 150 pages and realize I don't like it and just put it down with no negative thoughts whatsoever. This one I liked, and I sped through it rather quickly. Okay, so this one took me about 3 days to read, so it took me a little bit longer than normal to read a, 300-page book? Yeah, about a little less than 300 pages, so that is kind of shocking. Usually I can finish that a little faster than that, but I enjoyed it. It was a 4-star for me. I very much liked it, and I may start doing where I put my CawPile rating here so y'all can see it if that's something that you'd be interested in seeing it. I would really like to do that because I am not the most descriptive with my words. I would like to get more comfortable behind the camera where I could be, so eventually we'll get there, but for the time being, y'all are gonna have to deal with the ratings. I'll put the CawPile ratings so that way it gives a little more in depth, and then hopefully eventually more comfortable talking behind camera. The next 3 books are going to be a little different, and I think I might mesh all 3 of them together because the other 2 I really liked. Okay, we're not going to. Okay, so Taming Seraphine by Gigi Stix. This is a 3-star for me. It's 7 pages and you get to the spice, and I'm not all that adamant on spice. I can live with or I can live without it, and most of the time I find myself skimming past it anyway. This is a lot of smut. It's a lot of spice, and if you're into that, cool. Basically, this guy is breaking into this billionaire's home and slaughtering the entire family, which I thought was amazing. Gets to a basement, finds a girl trapped in there, and then begins to try to tame her and teach her to be a normal, civilized human being while she's been tortured and put through the ringer of all of these terrible, terrible traumas on her. And so he is trying to help her through it, but the book is just a lot of smut, and it's a lot of spice if you're into that. I loved the dark horror part of it, and I loved the action. I thought that was brilliant, and that was amazing. But the smut I could do without. I feel like the book would be like half, practically, if the smut was left out of it. So keep that in mind if you plan on getting this. If you like a dark romance, this might be right up your alley. And if you are hugely into smut, this could be something you'd really like. I just recommend always doing your research if you're going to pick up a smutty book. With that being said, our next two books I'm not going to go into huge detail because they are together. The Hunting and Haunting of Adeline. So Haunting Adeline, I gave a 4-star. I liked it, but a girl's grandmother passes away. She moves into the house. The guy breaks in and proceeds to stalk her. That's kind of my interpretation of it and where my mind went with it. If you like smutty, really dark romance like this could be right up your alley. It is not until I want to say like 3/4 of the way through the book where I'm like, okay, he does kind of care about her, like actually love her. But for the first like 3/4 of the book, it is an obsession. He has an obsession with her, and I'm just like, she fights it. She fights it in the book, and it leaves a sour taste in my mouth throughout a lot of it. Plus there is a gun scene, and we'll say no more on that. It's just that one was a 4-star because if you can get past all of that, it's very interesting. There is a supernatural aspect to that book I wish they would have delved into, as I am someone who loves all things horror and creepy. If they'd have delved a little bit more into those ghosts, I really would have loved them. So much darker, but this one was actually a 5-star for me. You can really see how much the two of them love each other in this book. It's the way he is willing to burn the entire world to ensure she is safe and then not run away when she is what she considers damaged. This one is a very dark story. I recommend researching before you pick this book up because there is a lot of not appropriate to talk about on social medias that happen in this book. I recommend researching and maybe seeing if it's anything that could that could cause further trauma to you and or trigger something that could come up. With that being said, both of these two books are very smutty, so if you do not like smut, I maybe recommend staying clear of this. Taking myself away from the smut in the first book where he stalked her, if I am just separating my mind, this book is a 5-star for me. It is dark, it is gruesome, it is horror, it is some of the most frightening stuff imaginable. And I loved it for that. I could have dealt without all the smut. It goes into a bit too much graphic for me when it comes to the assaults that happen. The actual story and plot of this one was beautiful. I wish he wouldn't have stalked her. Like, just don't stalk people. It's creepy. The Shining by Stephen King. Oh my gosh, this was a 5-star read for me. I absolutely loved this book. So The Shining is one of my favorite movies ever. I love it. It's one of my top 10 favorites that I watch just about every year. I did not think I thought I was gonna love the book, but I thought it was gonna make me hate the movie. It didn't. There is so much I wish the movie would have put into the book. Or the books would have put into the movie more, because it was phenomenal. It was so gripping. I was rooting for Danny. I was rooting for Winnie. My dogs are going nuts out there. You're probably going to hear them all throughout the video. I was absolutely rooting for them. And then all of the scenes with Jack broke my heart. And it was phenomenal. If you haven't read The Shining, I highly recommend it. It is amazing. It's top-notch for me. We are going to get into my DNF. I got to page 178 of the Manningtree Witches. I would love to eventually pick this book back up. I needed to DNF it though. It took me almost 2 weeks to read this book. and I just couldn't get through it. There was so much going on, so many different characters, so many different stories for those characters on top of what I felt like was kind of actual facts that were happening in this time that could have actually happened. So it was just a lot, and I eventually want to pick this back up. I just don't think this is the right time or the right season for me to read this one. So, lovely read if you like witches, if you like real life facts about like Salem witch trials, things like that. This could be an interesting read for you, and you may actually like this. And our last two books, If He Had Been With Me and If Only I Had Told Her. When I tell you the roller coaster that these two books took me on. First off, If He Had Been With Me is a 4-star. This was a 5-star for me. I loved this book. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was spectacular. I spent the entire time being like, why can't y'all just admit you love each other? Why are you doing this to each other? I loved it. This one is going to live rent-free in my head for the rest of my life, and I don't know if there's going to be a third one, but if there is, someone needs to tell me as soon as they find out, because hearing it from his perspective is heartbreaking, and then seeing what she goes through after she's lost him absolutely shattered me. Just completely shattered me. If this book gets a third one, I need y'all to let me know if I don't figure it out first, because I can't not know. I can't. This broke my heart. If you all have read any of these books, please feel free to let me know your thoughts. If you rated them, I'd love to know what your ratings are. And if you have any book recommendations for me, leave them down in the comments. Who knows? Maybe I'll pick up your books the next time I'm at a bookstore. Thank you all for taking the time to talk with me, and I'll catch you on the next video.